thing.
Live from Fox 13, this is breaking news.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Again, we've just learned that a suspect is in custody connected to the killings of 4 University of students in Moscow, Idaho.
This could be a really big break in this case. This is coming from a law enforcement source there. According to that source this morning, a man in his mid-20s taken into custody about 3 o'clock this morning, found in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we understand the suspect is a college student but does not attend the University of Idaho. Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernoodle, Kaylee Goncalves, and Madison Mogan were all stabbed to death in a rental home just off campus in early November, ambushed in their sleep around 4 in the morning, all in their early 20s.
We actually have a crew on the way to Moscow right now. We're streaming a 1 o'clock press conference as well with the chief of police on our website, fox13seattle.com. You can also catch it on our Facebook and YouTube page.
And we begin with breaking news, a stunning turn of events in the murder of 4 University of Idaho college students. Multiple law enforcement sources tell News 4 police have taken a man into custody in Pennsylvania. Adam Harding is live in East Stroudsburg. Adam?
And Gus, good morning to you. We just got to the courthouse within the last 10 minutes. According to law enforcement sources, they tell News 4 that a 25-year-old man in the Scranton area here in Pennsylvania has been taken into custody in connection to the murder of those 4 University of Idaho students. This all breaking late this morning. The murders in the small town of Moscow certainly stunning that region, and this becoming a story of national interest for weeks now. 4 University of Idaho students, 3 women and 1 man, were found stabbed to death in their beds in a rental home, which was near the campus back on November 13th. The local medical examiner revealing that the victims were likely asleep and had some defensive wounds. Again, this morning, the big breaking news here that a man is in custody, according to multiple law enforcement sources, in the murder of those 4 University of Idaho students in the Scranton area here in Pennsylvania. Police in the here in Pennsylvania planning a 4 p.m. News conference that is expected to happen in Moscow, Idaho, which is where this has been developing now for several weeks. Again, that is at 4 o'clock this afternoon, that news conference to discuss the arrest. Not much to work off of, but again, the sources telling us that a 25-year-old man is in custody. Of course, we are working to learn much more about the details of that arrest. Watch for our live continuing coverage both on air and online throughout the day here on Channel 4. Gus, we'll send things back to you.
So I'm going to give you a warning right off the bat on this segment. If you are squeamish and if you are uncomfortable with talk about violent death and violent death methods, I'm going to give you a break, give you a chance to turn it down. But I'm about to talk about something that's quite disturbing. Some people would find upsetting, offensive, wrong, inhumane. Other people would find exactly what this country needs. And it is the firing squad. And I'm going to tell you exactly how it works because now it is real and it is coming to a death chamber potentially near you if you're in Idaho and a couple of other states as well. So it has happened before. It was a choice by an inmate named Ronnie Lee Gardner. And here's how it worked. When he decided he would choose the firing squad, he was hooded and he was strapped to a metal chair. And then there was a target that was taped to his heart. He faced a wall 25 feet away, and behind the wall were 5 anonymous marksmen. Each of the marksmen took a shot at Ronnie Lee Gardner. 4 of them had bullets. 1 of them had blanks. Last night I said it was the opposite, 4 blanks and 1 shooter, but it is actually 4 shooters, 1 blank. And within 2 minutes, Ronnie Lee Gardner was pronounced dead by the Utah Department of Corrections. This is the backup method for Idaho now. And this is the way Idaho condemned could end up meeting their fate, like Bryan Kohberger, maybe Chad Daybell, if they're convicted. An Idaho defense attorney says this is inhumane and it is barbaric. Some others say it traumatizes the witnesses or even those who actually are the marksmen and have to carry it out. A certified death investigator we've spoken to says it is the most humane method, actually, because it is number 1, fast, and number 2, effective. No chance for botching it. And that's not always the case with the drugs. I want to bring in Richard Dieter, He is the executive director of the Death Penalty Information Center, and he's also a civil and human rights attorney. Richard, thanks for being with me. I'm always mixed about this because I have heard horror stories about what we thought was humane, and that's lethal injection. And I hear the opposite about the firing squad. Where do you weigh in?
Well, lethal injections have become very problematic in the U.S. They used to be very routine, and people went to sleep and were executed fairly quickly with little controversy. But the drug companies have refused to sell their drugs for these executions, and the doctors and nurses don't want to participate in executions as well. So you have a procedure with experimental drugs, unproven drugs, administered by people with not the experience you might find in a hospital, but people who work in the correctional facility. So things are not going well with lethal injection. It has its own problems. Of course, being shot is also a rather horrible experience to go through as well, I'm sure.
Can I ask you, the method by which you die if you're shot and the target is over your heart, does it stop your heart or do you bleed out? Because I have heard it both ways, that it took 2 minutes to pronounce Ronnie Lee Gardner dead, and I've heard that it's a bleeding process. It doesn't seem like it would be.
Well, I am no doctor to know that precisely, but I can say that there have been problems with firing squads. They're used occasionally in the military and on battlefields, and sometimes the heart is missed, and of course then it's bleeding out. Or sometimes a person goes on breathing and is not quite dead despite being shot, and we know that happens in society outside of the firing squad. So things can go wrong, but I think that the biggest problem is the shock, what we're asking victims' families to go through, to watch someone else be shot by 5 people while their family of the person being shot is also standing by, and you blow them away with 5 rifles. That is not going to sit well with anyone, regardless of what happens to the individual, the defendant, who's the person here.
Right. I suspect we're still, fluid in the death penalty in this country, and it will more than likely end up as a Supreme Court, debate. But we'll have to have you back, and certainly as this moves its way through Idaho as well. Richard Dieter, thanks so much.
Thank you.